Hi, it's Hillary Potts, bringing you leadership strategies for you to bring your best to any business situation. And I'm excited to share information from my book, The Truth About Change. My goal is to bring you actionable concepts so you can begin to lead change more effectively and efficiently. You'll also find information at www.thetruthabouttchangebook.com. In today's segment, we'll discuss the 5 keys to leading change. It is a leader change framework to think through and engage your organization in the implementation of a strategic initiative. Over the last 3 decades, I've been an operating executive, consultant, advisor, and coach to leaders on some very prominent companies, from the mega Fortune 100 to mid-size and even some startups. I have found that leaders across the globe all want to make a difference to their business, their organization, and even the world. But somehow leaders continue to struggle with executing change, especially the people aspect of leading change. In today's segment, we're going to discuss how you can unlock your organization's potential by implementing the 5 keys to leading change. It is a framework that my clients find very effective in thinking, strategizing, planning, and executing initiatives. It helps leaders move from the business concept to determining what people need to do and what they need to say to actually make that plan a reality. Unfortunately, not all leaders are effective at leading change, and the sad fact is that over 70% of strategic changes fail. There can be many factors that contribute, but what I've observed over decades of both watching successful and failed initiatives is that the successful execution comes down to people and leadership. Those companies that win are able to drive action throughout their organization, and it's up to the leaders to play an active role in shaping the implementation of the effort. The name of the game in business is to deliver results, and leaders want to do this in the fastest way possible. But the challenge to achieve results means that you need to change something, and people are a key factor in making those changes. Here's an additional challenge. Work is accomplished by people, and most people want to see changes, but when it comes down to it, people don't want to be changed. Quite frankly, sometimes leaders, in their drive to achieve business results, can sometimes forget that their people are their greatest asset. For instance, generating a report may look like it's coming out of the computer, but behind the scenes, there are teams of people who are inputting the data, analyzing the data, and developing the program that actually writes that report. You get my point. People are key to leading the changes. So, how do we solve the people challenges? I suggest you look at people from a variety of different perspectives. At the enterprise level, we can see how groups and activities actually fit together. We see a very high-level view of what's going on. However, if this is our only perspective in our implementation plans, well, they'll fall short. You may oversimplify things, and you may understand what the masses are doing, but you may miss the hearts of the issue. From a team perspective, such as a business team or a functional area, we can see how work gets accomplished. We can see the dynamics of the team, the working relationships, and ways of working. We are able to see the team dynamics, whether they're helping or hindering the team's overall performance. Meanwhile, at the individual level, we can get to see what people are doing and how they're carrying out the work. We can also see how individual reactions to that change will impact the work, and we can address individual performance. Each person will react differently, so people may think about and approach the change in very different ways, and we'll see how what they do and what they say impacts the overall solution. When we view change at the individual level, we can coach and give feedback to enhance an individual's contribution. To successfully lead the change, leaders will want to look at change from these different perspectives before locking in on a particular implementation plan. An additional challenge are the unexpected problems that are bound to be complications and issues which can distract and deter a leader and the organization. Managing the bumps in the road are crucial to keep people motivated and moving forward. You came into the role to make a difference, to achieve positive outcomes, and we all know playing it safe isn't an option. Leaders need a way to quickly size up the situation and take an idea to solution to achieve the result. And your fastest option is through the engagement and actions of others. Facing change and knowing how best to lead change is a powerful skill and a set of tools to have in your leadership toolkit. It isn't enough to have a bright idea, a strategy, process, or plan. The often overlooked component in a strategy execution is the people side of the business. The actions that leaders and employees take in the development and the delivery from idea to solution to results is the key differentiator in delivering results. Leaders often talk about the people aspects of the business as this elusive soft stuff, and I want to help you take a more practical approach to getting your arms around the people side of change. So, how do leaders engage the hands, the heads, the hearts? How do leaders take the people risk out of the implementation? This takes an understanding and assessing how people react to the enterprise, group, and individual levels. It requires knowing what you need people to do and providing them the opportunity to carry out that work. The Leader Change Framework is a way to look at the strategic initiative from a perspective of leadership and people and how the actions of people will impact the delivery of the solution. It takes what I call the intangible soft stuffs in dealing with the people, the emotions, the agendas, and actions to create discussions and dialogue to unlock the potential of your organization. The 5 keys lay out a practical perspective to lead with and through others. Let's discuss each of the areas so that you can get an idea of what I'm talking about. There are much more detail in my book, The Truth About Change. The first key, agreement and alignment. Let me give you an example. Have you ever been in a meeting where just before taking a break, the group came to a decision, but in the hallway discussions, it became very clear that the people had interpreted the decisions very differently. People are going to see decisions from different perspectives, and a leadership team will want to test those decisions. Gaining agreement requires people to understand what is changing and why it's important for those changes to be made. So discussions by a leadership team and vetting out the scenarios become really important to making sure you're all moving in the same direction. The second aspect, alignment, and I call it out separately. A group I work with agreed on the strategy and they agreed on the set of work. But when it came down to talking about how they were going to go about implementing those changes, well, they had entirely different approaches. So you want to develop both your agreement on what and why you're doing something and the alignment with your team on how you want to carry out that plan. The next key is acceptance. It's one thing for people to understand and be aware of the change. It's another to accept and be willing to adopt and be part of the change. We have all seen or personally experienced people who have resisted the change or reacted to being asked to change. And we can forget that weeks and maybe months ago, as we were wrestling with the solution, that we too may have had trouble with acceptance. It's unrealistic to expect that one town hall, an email, a communication from the boss will move people to immediate action. Change can elicit fear, doubt, and uncertainty. Change can trigger physical, mental, emotional, and even test our belief systems. There will be the normal fears, objections, and concerns that people need to process. Leaders play a huge role in helping people move from awareness to understanding to acceptance. It takes listening and providing information and a safe place for people to talk and to help them move from idea to action to results. Knowing how to engage people in the messages and how to help them move to accept the changes accelerates the whole process. When we communicate in a way for people to absorb what is going on and how it impacts them, people can move to the third step, adopting and taking action. Let me state the obvious that we still struggle with as leaders. Change doesn't happen without action. If we want new or different results, then the actions or behaviors you and your people are performing must change. Sometimes these are very different actions, and sometimes they can be very subtle nuances that make all the difference in the world. We've all experienced learning a new task, and it can feel awkward and uncomfortable to adopt new ways of working. In deploying a new strategy or implementing a new process, that can mean hundreds of new actions. As leaders, we can take this for granted and wonder what's taking so long. To accelerate change, we can do a couple things. First, identify the critical path of behaviors, those actions that are required for the organization to work in concert in the new way. And of the hundreds of different changes, there are probably a handful, just a couple, that will be very critical to the entire strategy to work. You want to name these. Then, as leaders, define your role and your actions and your behaviors and how you're going to help execute those specific named behaviors. You want to be there to encourage, reinforce, and aid others in adopting those new actions. Remember, new behaviors are going to be a little uncomfortable, so have some patience. Listen to the challenges people are facing and find ways to help them move to action. When leaders are part of the process, there's a much smoother transition from the old ways of doing things to the new ways. And if you are keen on achieving results, as most leaders I know are, then recognize your actions will help, or your lack of action could hinder the whole progress. Which means moving to the fourth point, accountability. It's a word that I hear often, how our leadership actions don't necessarily always match the intent. One leader told me he empowers his team, he steps away, but then he wonders why the smart people aren't making it work. When you accept accountability for results of the change, you chart a direction and model new behaviors. Too often leaders assume their work is complete when the solution is identified and the project team is formed to implement the solution. Actually, a leader's work is just getting started. Implementation is the essence of ensuring the new actions are owned and deployed to lead to positive outcomes. A leader is accountable for educating others. You, as the leader, are accountable for inspiring others with a compelling vision. There are usually a handful of behaviors that are critical to the operation. When a leader takes accountability for ensuring those new behaviors are understood, that people are given a safe place to test and to try out the new actions, and they have the leader there to coach and guide them to reinforce those new behaviors. It makes it so much easier for people to want to be part of the change versus feeling like they have to comply. When you engage people in the way that they want to change versus feeling like they have to change, they're able to take responsibility and accountability for their own actions and for the change effort. Let's talk about the fifth and the final A, acceleration. I don't know any company that doesn't want results and fast. I suggest shifting the focus from the end result and focusing on the intermediate actions, whether those actions are moving those organizations in the right direction or not. As I've been sharing, to get results means to work with others. It requires you and others to change and adapt how you're working today and be willing to work all the way through those obstacles. What I see in many businesses are leaders unwilling to change and then wonder why the business results fall short. The way to accelerate results is to be an active change leader. It would be tempting to back off and say that you're letting others implement that solution, but don't do this. Instead, stay visible and active in shaping the changes. You're going to want to be there to remove the obstacles and address issues early. You want to help others when they're trying new actions and they feel like it's not working. You want to provide them the support. You want to provide them the feedback. You want to help answer questions. And of course, listen to them so that you can help them pave the new way. Many leaders say to me that it's hard to find something that's working during times of change. And I tell them, well, that's correct if you're only looking at the end result. So instead, start to provide more positive feedback about the progress. Discuss what's working as things are getting started. And don't wait for the result because you may never see it. Before jumping into a laundry list of what isn't working, start with maybe 2 or 3 things that are working and then pick maybe one, possibly a second thing to address. So today we went over the 5 steps to leading change. Those keys are to build agreement and alignment throughout your team. It's to help overcome resistance, to accept the new way. You're there to help pave the way for new actions and to build accountability for the new way by giving ample feedback and encouragement. And your actions and your engagement will accelerate the overall change process. It's been great chatting with you today. This is Hillary Potts with Leadership Strategies to help you bring your best. If you've liked what you heard and you're looking for more ideas, then download the Leader Change Toolkit now. Inside the toolkit, you're going to find ways to get prepared for a significant project. You'll also hear more about the 5 keys to leading change. And I also share details on the 5 time-tested leadership behaviors to successfully navigate any situation. You'll find additional information on how to lead yourself through these transitions. I have books, The Truth About Change. It's a book that helps walk through successfully executing change initiatives. My other book, The Executive Transition Playbook, is a step-by-step process to make the most of the first 100 days in a new role. Both books can be found on Amazon.com. Also, visit my website, www.hillarypotts.com, for additional information about my coaching and consulting programs. I also have tips and tools, other blogs, podcasts, and videos. Until the next time, continue to bring your best to leading change. Bye for now.